Well, good afternoon. It's Saturday, May the 11th, and welcome back to the shop. So as you can see, I'm just working on the last door. Now, this is the driver's door. The rest of the car has been stripped. I've already started working on flattening some of the seam layers, where the two halves of the mold are taken apart. The seam is never flat, so I've been working on that as well. But let me show you what I discovered on the last door I'm working on. This is the driver's door, as I said. So on the passenger door, we have a couple of cracks that run here, and I thought those were bad, but you know what? We dremeled them out. We can fill them with glass. But on the driver's door, you can see we've got some massive cracking. It actually starts all the way back from here, cracks up vertically, and then that crack runs the entire length of the door right to the hinge. And unfortunately, there's this huge chunk of glass missing. Now, I found a piece inside the door, but as you can see, it's painted, which means this was in place at one time and was painted and then must have got knocked, or they dropped the door, or I don't know what they did, but basically this was knocked inside. So what did they do? They then stuffed newspaper into the area, and as you can see, that newspaper, you can tell, comes all the way from 2003. And that newspaper was filled up into here, and then I guess they painted it or touched it up because I never really noticed it. But now that it's all been cleaned out of here, we got a massive problem. So what are we going to need to do? Well, I need to stabilize this whole area. So I'm thinking of using a low expanding foam, just like they did in the center, but using a low expanding foam in here just to structurally support this. Then I can come back and I'm going to cut this crack right out. In fact, I'm going to have to cut a lot out because I need to put fiberglass in here. I can't just put resin. It's never going to bond back together. It's going to crack. So if we can stabilize the structure with some low expanding foam, and then we can cut this crack out, and we can then fill it with glass and then put, or fiberglass, and then with the resin, and then of course fix this whole area up, we should be good to go. Okay, so dremeled this whole area out, and as you can see, we're all the way back here, the crack run all the way down and a bit down here. And like I said, this is opening up, so we have to make sure that this is all solid. So what I did is I have a can of very low pressure. So that means the foam is not going to exert pressure on the fiberglass and open things up. It's simply going to expand. And the nice thing about this stuff here is we all know it is sticky. So it will help also pull the pieces together, so that once I inject the foam in here, and we'll let the foam pop out everywhere, we don't really care, and then we can trim it later. But basically what we want to do is fill this entire cavity with foam, get that glue effect to hold this together, and then we're going to come back in here and, like I said, cut this out more, get some fiberglass in here, get some resin in here, and then of course we'll have to do body work in order to smooth all that out. But like I said, at least that transition will be underneath the door. You're not going to see it, but we absolutely have to add glass here. So anyways, let's get that spray foam in here. Would you believe I came to the other door? I thought, oh, there can't be. There is. There's newspaper in here as well. So now I got to dig all this out. And I don't know if the newspaper then maybe was originally to stop the foam from getting up into this corner because of the hinge. I have a hard time believing that though, because like I said, you can see the foam has made it to this far, and that doesn't get in the way of the lock. So I don't know what that newspaper is doing in here and what it was doing in the other one. But I'm going to pull this newspaper, and since I've got my spray foam, I'm going to fill this whole cavity up because, again, it adds structural integrity to the door. So let's get that out, and let's get some foam in this one as well. Well, definitely had some newspaper in there as well. I'm wondering now if this was the original body manufacturer, the person who actually created this fiberglass body, if they used newspaper somehow for whatever reason to isolate the two skins. I really couldn't tell you, but I pulled all that out. I filled this entire area up with the low expanding foam. So now that we'll let that give that a day to harden up. All we have to do is trim some of this away once it's all foamed up and hardened. But at least now that adds some structural support here and there. And remember, I mentioned to you earlier, this is the door that had the vertical cracking. I just dremeled the one, I haven't dremeled the other. But these, again, we're going to fill with resin and then just put a piece of tape over it just to hold the resin in place until it sets up. But there's no massive crack running down the side here on this door, as you can see. So this one's intact from that perspective. We have some repairs to do on it, but as I said before, this door here, at least now, we got the paper out of it, and we got some good foam in here that'll get this rigid, and we should be good to go. Well, that's it. I mean, you know what? It's always fun. You find something new and you got to deal with it. So as you can see, the foam is starting to pop out over here, which is great. As I said, though, it's low expanding or low pressure foam. And that's important because you can get that foam in there that would literally buckle the side of the fiberglass and make it bulge. You don't want that. So it's got to be the low expanding, low pressure foam. And that's it. We'll just let that stuff leach out. We'll let that harden up. And then, as I mentioned before, we can get that all done. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.